And then Tommy, is that right, from NID? Tommy?
Paul, it says she doesn't have a mic, so she can only listen and chat. So, Tommy, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat.
Gotcha. Thanks. And then Monica, Monica's been on a lot of our other meetings around safe summer recreation. So welcome back, Monica.
Thank you. Monica Reyes, Recreation Manager for Nevada Irrigation District.
Okay, awesome. So it looks like 2 representatives from NID and then the fairgrounds. So awesome. We'll just kind of jump into this, I think. I wanted to start off just by asking, I guess, our 2 organizations here, how has reopening gone so far? And it sounds like from the fairgrounds perspective, you could have opened as early as Friday, but you didn't, awaiting further guidance. Is that right?
That is correct. We have quite a few people out there. They are essential workers. So there's quite a few out there right now, but we have not opened to recreational travelers just yet, simply because if we open the gates to our fairgrounds, it's going to be a floodgate. So we're being very careful how we do that. We have a lot of common areas out there in the RV park, a lake, a pavilion, all sorts of things, restrooms, a dump station, all of that. So we're proceeding with caution and trying to get all the stuff in place before we open that.
Okay. And then we can talk about how we'll proceed, what level of fidelity the group wants to get into today.
Okay.
And then Monica, any big opening news with NID? Did you guys start opening Friday or over the weekend? Any of the campgrounds?
No, we haven't opened yet. Our plan is to open on July 1st. I have a lot of questions today, so hopefully I'll get answers for those to make it easier to open on July 1st. And we have a lot of people that want to come in, so we're just kind of teetering. We also have campgrounds up in Sierra County, so we kind of want to, do it, make sure we're all on the same track for all the counties, so we don't have different rules for different counties.
Okay.
So we're kind of, we're ready. We just want to make sure we do it right.
Yeah. And so, Jessica, do you know if I chat? Yeah, it looks like in our group, it's just us. If I drop something in chat, it should just go to us. So I'm going to put in chat the guidance PDF around camping that we were working off of as of a week and a half ago. And then we have updated county level guidance. And so we'll just keep going with the introductions and then we'll jump into that. So Elizabeth, I see we've been joined by Elizabeth. Where are you from, Elizabeth? Or maybe she can only listen and not talk as well. Okay, well, we'll just proceed. So we can go 2 ways, and I'm very flexible. I don't think any of you were in last week's group, and so what I could do is I could go through all the summarized camping guidance that we got, and then also talk about the FAQs, or we can just I can read off the big broader topics, and then we can dive into one in particular. I don't know in 45 minutes if we'll get through the full list of guidance. So how about I just read through, I'll try to give you guys a wave top overview of the camping guidance and then the county FAQs, and then we dive into any topics that you need more amplified information. Does that work for everyone?
That works. And this is Wendy from the Fairgrounds. We actually had representatives in the last one, and we've read the guidelines thoroughly. So just speaking for us, I don't want you to have to review all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did. I read through everything, and I've been working with Katria at Environmental Health.
Oh, perfect. Well, then, then we don't need to do a deep dive on that. Then we'll just, I'll just cover the FAQs, and then I'll cover the questions that we got during the last session, and then maybe we can just open it up to your questions. How's that work?
Yes, that'd be great.
That's perfect.
Okay. So let's see. Let me go to the FAQs. 1 second. One of the questions that we had that wasn't in our questions that we took away was around swimming pools. And so if that wasn't clear before, pools are allowed. Pools can be open if they meet the relevant state guidance for pools as laid out in their normal guidance. Hot tubs, saunas, and steam rooms are supposed to still remain closed. I think at a very broad scale, you know, camping is allowed. Can campgrounds and RV parks be open? Yes, if the site can meet the guidelines the state has set up for their type of facility, which sounds like at least between NID and the fairgrounds, you have that guidance.
Yes.
Playgrounds on the campgrounds, so facilities with playgrounds, conference spaces, or meeting rooms should be kept closed until each of those types of establishments are allowed to resume modified or full operations. Could campers have visitors to their campsites? Only one household should occupy each campsite or rental unit. Non-registered visitors should not be permitted entry into the facility. And I'm just reading off the FAQs that are on our website, so stop me if you've both heard these.
Mhm.
Can communal restrooms and shower facilities be open? Yes, they can be open, but restrooms should be cleaned regularly. Guidelines for restrooms are in the state guidance specific to that type of business. For example, doors to multi-stall restrooms should be able to be opened and closed without touching the handles. And I know this is already in the guidance that's been sent out. They talk about some ways to mitigate those high-touch areas. So it says camping is now allowed. Is it for locals only? And so cross-county travel is discouraged at this time. And we talked about this on our other groups when we were doing our safe summer recreation meetings. And how do you vet people to make sure they're not from our county? And that's a sort of a tough job. And I think where we left that was kind of leaving it up to your best judgment. If somebody clearly says they're from another county, the way I read this is they could come here and camp, but it's just really not in their or your best interest. So you might come up with local policies to address that. And that was it as far as the guidance in the FAQs. And then now we'll run through guidance, specific questions we got during the last meeting. So do two individuals wearing masks mitigate the close contact within 6 feet and 15 minutes of contact? Because that's 6 feet and the proximity and time, we're going to drive other requirements, especially if a person had tested positive. So the answer is no. Social distancing is a primary approach to minimizing infection. Face coverings are strongly recommended, but the physical distancing is the primary tool. Hand washing, sanitizing, etc. is still strongly encouraged. Seeing that theme there of a lot of it's encouraged, but you know, you have to just kind of mandate it at your level. What does grouping in stage 3 look like? So how many people not in the same household can come together? Gatherings for non-household family members or non-household or non-family members is not allowed outside of the business guidances and other allowable activities like worship services and political protests, which are the two specific constitutional carve-outs. Are there county or CDC disinfecting guidelines for bathrooms specific to COVID? CDC guidelines are linked in the FAQs related to an employer exposure, but the state guidances provide sanitizing guidance that includes bathrooms. Is there a metric that campgrounds can use to separate campsites? And so I think we were all thinking it was 6 feet. And so the answer they have here is, I think this is addressed in the state's campground guidance. 6 feet is the distance people should be able to keep apart in all contexts if that's possible. And they have a quote, to ensure physical distancing can be maintained, visitors should set up their campsite or picnic areas to maximize distance from adjacent campsites and picnic sites that host people from different households. So 6 feet is the minimum for all contact under all circumstances. Is there guidance for small group charters, group size, precautionary measures, etc.? So it looks like no household gatherings are not allowed outside of the specific business guidance. There's some things that are allowed, like fitness classes, for example. But again, deferring back to the basic social distancing guidance. And that's all we had for FAQs specific to camping from the county, well, county level guidance, and then answers to the questions that were put forward to us during the last meeting. And so now I'll turn it over to your two organizations and see what you've got for us.
I can ask one and I think this was asked on the last one because you just touched on it. This is Wendy from the Fairgrounds again. Um, what are the sort of the mandates for cleaning and sanitizing the bathrooms? In the last conversation, it was mentioned it was every 2 hours, and then someone else said it was it was twice a day. So what are the guidelines for cleaning and sanitizing those public restrooms?
Yeah, and I think it was in our FAQ, and I think it's linked in the FAQ. So, Jessica, would you be able to search the PDF FAQ for the county, and if you find the link, maybe drop it in the chat box? I'm assuming it's going to link back to some CDC guidance.
Yeah, let me see what I can do there.
Thank you. And while she's doing that, did you have any other questions, Wendy?
Well, I have a few, but I don't want to take all the time.
So
I can ask two. These will be pretty quick, and then I'll let NID ask their questions. This cross-country travel, cross-county travel is discouraged, so that is guidance, not mandated. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's how I interpret that.
Okay, so we should just ask: are you traveling? Are you from Nevada County and traveling within Nevada County?
Yeah, I think that we can take that as a question. As maybe we'll write that down, Jessica, just to confirm and see if they can expand a little bit more on the inter-county travel for recreation. That right now it seems again that it's just discouraged, but it doesn't sound like it's illegal.
Okay, so yeah, so I'm just, if someone says I want to come into the state your RV park because we're here for a funeral and we're, visiting from El Dorado County, do we need to say no to that?
It sounds like the answer would be no.
No.
The answer would be, we are strongly discouraging you from traveling, but currently there's not that restriction has been lifted, I guess.
Okay, and then I would assume when that restriction is lifted, we would be notified to open up to other counties.
I feel like it's now at the interpretation level where I do feel like the inter-county travel, based on that answer, is that it's been lifted. But we'll get back to you on that. We'll take that for action, and we'll just try to get more clarity around that.
Okay, and then I have one more, and I'm sure I'll think of more, and I think I know the answer to this one. We have a group coming in mid-July. It's a very large group. They've all have their own sites, of course, but they have reserved most of the RV park. I'm assuming that will fall under a group gathering, and we should probably cancel them. Would that be your interpretation?
Well, let's jump into the guidance, because I think it does say, as long as people are not entering other people's campsites, which I think would be hard for you to regulate. And so I'll pull up the guidance and we'll go over that. But I almost feel like it would be up to you, right? If it's going to be too hard to police that or manage people from mixing between households and campsites, then I would say that liability could fall on you. Maybe you would want to discourage that from happening.
Okay. Yeah, and we thought it would be a matter of, you can't gather around the fire pit, you can't go to the common areas, which of course those are all shut down, and they would remain shut down, and you just basically have to stay within your campsite and let them decide how they want to handle that.
Yeah, because it's like you said, they talk about gathering at communal spaces like fire rings, playgrounds, amphitheaters. That stuff should be closed.
Right.
I was trying to find where it says essentially people can't go between campsites.
Well, I see like on page 3 of the guidelines of the state guidelines, it says all public events or concentrated gatherings at campgrounds or RV parks must be canceled or postponed. So I'm just thinking maybe that falls within that definition of a concentrated gathering.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. It depends on what they're doing. If they were all if they were all in the campsite, but respecting everybody else's spaces, then maybe it could be allowed. I just think it would be hard to manage, but I'm trying to find more specific.
Okay. I'm sure I'll have more, but I'll let others ask for now.
Yeah, maybe we'll take that one too, Jessica, just as like large groups at campgrounds. If they don't enter other people's campsites and congregate, could that be allowed?
Real quick, Wendy, are they going to be doing specific events, or is it just like a private group?
It's a private group, and they had originally rented some facilities on the fairgrounds. Those facilities, of course, will remain closed, and they've been notified of that, but they still want to come and gather and camp. And I'm talking probably 60 to 70 sites, but they're all going to be in their own sites. But I think it's going to be up to us and them to police themselves and to not congregate in one area.
Yeah, and I think that for you guys, just at least notifying them that they should be socially distancing and kind of sticking to their own campsite, and then on top of that, they're responsible. You kind of have to hold them responsible for that as well.
Right.
Personal responsibility.
Good. And that's sort of what we were leaning towards, giving them, all of the restrictions that are in place and then letting them choose. And if they choose to cancel, then we will, of course, honor that.
And the other thing too, Wendy, would be spacing between people. Like if you are putting, I'm sure that these campsites are going to be bigger than 6 feet apart, but,
right.
But is there still a chance that if you did fill up every one of those, that people would still be closer than they should be? That's a consideration. And there's also, not that there's supposed to be a lot of joint places, but even things like the restrooms where people could potentially be congregating. I know the guidance talks about if you're going to be saturating areas like that,
yeah,
you might change the ratio of campers you have. So if there's communal places like swimming pools that are not allowed to be open, or walking paths or restrooms, would you maybe want to, if your capacity was say 60 sites, you might reduce that to 40 to just build in more spacing between folks.
Okay. Good suggestions. Thank you.
As well. I'll keep searching for more guidance on that, but anything else, Wendy?
Not right now.
Okay. Monica, you got any questions?
Yes. So I also had questions about the cross-county traveling is discouraged, because I would say probably about 75 to 80% of my campers are coming from out of our area. And that's, both Nevada, Placer County, because I have campgrounds in both Nevada and Placer County, and then of course in Sierra County, but Sierra County seems to be a little less, they're not really looking at that. They're just basically saying tourism's open, so camping's open. So that's a whole different thing. But so, my thing is that, that the word discouraged, because I can certainly go look at that and say, okay, well, I don't have a problem saying it's for locals only. It's for Nevada or Placer County people only. But then when you get somebody that shows up at your campground and you're just like, okay, well, yeah, you're from Alameda County, you've driven all this way, since it's only discouraged, yeah, I can let you in. It's kind of like wishy-washy. And so I'd like a little bit more clarity on that if we could find some.
Yeah. And the way that you'll probably get that, this guidance, FYI, is hopefully we will ask, and they've been pretty good in the public health office of going through this and providing some interpretation and strengthening language if it's required.
Yes.
They'll post that to the FAQs that keep getting updated on our website. And then I'll also put my email address in the chat here, and you all can email me to just check in maybe in a week. Let's see, what is today? Tuesday. Maybe by Friday we might have something.
That'd be awesome. And then with us, I actually have campgrounds that are group sites only. Like I have Foshery, there's 2 group sites. I have Silvertip, I have Aspen Group. Those campgrounds are just 25 plus people. And Foshery's out in the middle of nowhere, so right now we have it closed. The comment I'm getting from my campers is, well, we're out in the middle of nowhere. How are we going to, I think we're fine. And it's like, well, I want to play by the rules. So I'm just wondering, if you have a campground that is truly set up for a group, for groups only, is that something that needs to be shut down until groups can be together? Because there's no, I mean, in some of them, yes, we could probably, there are RVs, but a lot of them are tent camping, and they're going to be, there's nobody there to watch them. Because Fosheries, you know, that's a good example. I mean, it's out in the middle of nowhere. We're there on Mondays and Fridays to clean bathrooms. That's it.
Yeah, so I'd say if it's being, I guess, billed as a group campsite, well, groups are still clearly not allowed in stage 3. So if it was a family, if you said, hey, this is a group campsite, but we're going to just give it to one family, and that family will just have a great big huge campsite to themselves now,
Okay.
I think that would be acceptable. But knowingly renting it to multiple families or large groups, I think is clearly not the intent of the guidance we're having.
Yeah, super. And then I think that's all. Group sites, travel discouraged.
Yes.
Oh, and then what we're doing at Scott's Flat, just because I do have 2 separate campgrounds, and we also have boating and day use as well. So to kind of be fair to our campers, and then to be fair to our day users and boaters, like I'm closing down most of gate 1. I'm just going to leave like our lower loop, which is about 20 sites. And we think that would be sufficient for the kind of day use area we have out there. And then throughout gate 2, we're going to be closing some of our lakefront sites, our tent sites, just to open up some day use areas to be safe. And also taking into consideration right now, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm having a really hard time getting temporary or seasonal staff, just because of that $600, extra $600 that most of them are getting right now. And in fact, I had 2 that quit the other day because they're like, I'm losing $150 a day. I can't work. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
So compared to being on unemployment, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking in the big picture is to eliminate, eliminate people coming in, but also that helps with me not having to be having a bathroom cleaned every hour or every 2 hours, or we'll still, because I can shut bathrooms down. So I don't, if I'm closing off an area, I can shut down that bathroom and it's locked up. I don't have to worry about that, or I can focus on other bathrooms. So that's kind of where we're at there. I'm going to try to hopefully get that across to Orchard Springs and Long Ravine, just close down, some sites that we can actually say, okay, this section is closed. We don't have to worry about this bathroom. So then we can actually have enough staff to focus on the bathrooms that are open. Since that seems to be one of the bigger issues, is making sure those bathrooms are clean and sanitized.
Yeah, I'd say that sounds like a pretty good strategy to me, that if you don't have the staffing to safely keep places clean and keep the garbage picked up, and to not only from a COVID safety, but from just a regular, I guess, campsite
Exactly.
Safety design. Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. I would, does it sounds like if you're closing certain areas down, do you think that will drive higher density in those other areas that are still open, or would you mitigate or lower that density by reducing the amount of reservations you take?
Well, we only have so many spaces. So, I mean, we're going to have people that are going to be looking for other places to go, but I mean, we're not going to, open up a section to try to squeeze people in. I mean, and once we close down a section, like, gate 1 is a prime example. It's closed. We have 20 sites and down, by our day use area. That's all we're going to open. Anybody that sneaks in at night, we're going to get rid of them the next morning.
Yeah, and so it sounds like you're saying if all your sites are filled in that one area, you guys can still safely ensure that, I don't know, people are being COVID safe in the restrooms and showers.
Exactly. There's one bathroom there. They're mostly RV sites. There's a day use area that could sufficiently sustain those 20, sites safely, where typically we have, over 125 campsites going at a time at gate 1. And all those people are cramming down into a day use area that there's no way we have 6 feet of distance. They're like on top of each other.
Yeah, same for the beaches and everything down there.
Exactly. So
well, that makes sense. I've actually camped down there with my family. It was fun. So.
Can I ask Monica a question? This is Wendy.
Sure.
Monica, how often are you cleaning and sanitizing the bathrooms? What is your interpretation?
Right now, we only have our boat launches open, so we're just cleaning our boat launch bathrooms. And I've actually hired a janitorial service to come in the morning and do a complete sanitized disinfection. And then we have the guys go throughout the day, probably be out 4 or 5 times throughout the day.
Okay.
We're only open limited hours, 7:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. So, you know, we're safe there. But once we actually open for camping, obviously I can't afford to have my janitorial service come in and clean all my bathrooms. So that's going to change. But I'm thinking, like, you know, we would go in and just do our regular cleaning in the morning like we would normally do. We sanitize. And then I was thinking at least every hour, every 2 hours, somewhere, you know, in that hour and every 2 hours. And we were actually going to put the little notice on the bathroom walls, you know, so that people could see when we last checked the bathroom or when we were last there, just as a backup to us. We also are requiring everyone that comes through our gate to sign a release of liability form.
Yes, we are too. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking. Okay, here we go. I found, I think here's the CDC guidelines for clean. Were you able to find those, Jessica?
I was able to find the state guidance, only that it's just saying cleaning regularly. I don't know if there's another, like maybe OSHA or something.
Yeah, I'll link in a CDC website I just found that was linked. It was in our FAQs. It was linked. Just looking to see if they have a restroom. They've got a lot of situations for cleaning. So I'll put this in the chat. So it sounds like we need more clarity on the 2 big topics that we had last time was cleaning and then inter-county travel.
Yes.
Definitely.
And we can even bring that up when we all come back together if there's time in that other group. But you have my email in there, so just you know, connect with me. I'm busy, but I'll get back to you. Maybe Jessica could drop her email in there too. Email both of us for a check-in, maybe Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, and hopefully we can get back to you with those answers, and we'll try to get them posted to our FAQs.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, any other questions, or is that it?
That's it for me.
All right.
That's it for me as well.
Well, I appreciate your time, ladies. And it sounds like if you wanted to stick around, I think they're going to put everybody back together for more lessons learned and questions, or you can just sign off and then connect with Jessica and I offline if you want more information.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you both.
Okay. I'm going to hang on and see what the big group has to offer, but we'll definitely get your questions pushed over to them.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, we probably are pretty close to having everybody back. We may have had a few folks